Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me today. This blue planet of ours is full of magnificent and peculiar beings. So, permit me to enlist you on another voyage to explore the life of one incredibly fascinating creature roaming our world. Here, we see the man of the hour, the best shadchen in the business, the walking Jewish Tinder, the one and the only, Gimpl Bejmiš. Truly a great find. Now, you might ask yourself, what does it take to be the best of the best? Is it the precious pair of conformal trousers which provides help in building up the feeling of trust in the potential customer? Or a tailcoat by a major Lithuanian tailor company, Silverstein, that perfectly outlines the magnificent muscle structure? Or is it the state-of-the-art aerodynamic shape of his beard and top hat? By the way, this comes especially handy during a strategic retreat, or as we call it, running away. I'll let you on a secret. The matchmaker is never wrong about his pairing. But we men can never comprehend the chaos that is a woman's brain. Ergo, my dear viewer, you can see that these traits are crucial for a matchmaker's daily routine. But before we jump into the run-of-the-mill cesspool that is daily routine, I'll touch on what he does to bring home the bacon. Kosher, of course. But in order to unravel that mystery and be able to comprehend it, we have to travel all around the world, back to Europe, Gimpl's birthplace. Here we can find a wild matchmaker in his natural habitat. One might wonder what made him so happy. Yet the answer is quite simple. Money. In these places called shtetls, Jewish ghettos scattered all over Europe, young ladies and gentlemen would struggle to find themselves the right match for life, a man or a woman of proper Jewish ancestry and lifestyle. Here are the first recorded mentions of brave matchmakers who stepped out of the shadows to lend a helping hand to those in need, for a hefty price, of course. Unfortunately, a tragedy swept across Europe in the beginning of the 20th century, the Great War. As we all know, war goes hand in hand with death. And, sadly for our matchmaker, death in this case means a shortage of goods. Simply put, when most men are either dead or shell-shocked husks of their former selves, business plummets like the stability in the Middle East. So, you might be wondering, what is our hero doing in the United States of America? Well, it's simple. Wall Street didn't go mental and started jumping from a tall building. In other words, there was still money to earn. To Gimpl's surprise, there are not ghettos of one kind in New York. There's plenty of them. Little Italy, Chinatown, and even an Arab town, imagine that. So, what does a good businessman do in virgin territory? Well, eye up the market. Time and space around him seem as if it changed into a whirlwind of mathematical equations, variations of marriages. All arranged, the business is established. He carefully looks around, seeking the right one, when all of a sudden he sees a young woman. He stalks his prey and strikes. It would seem that this time poor Gimpl could not succeed in the persuasion of his victim. However, a good matchmaker knows not every attempt necessarily yields fruit. Therefore, we must try elsewhere. This time, he will, undoubtedly, have better luck in his search. It seems that our matchmaker had seriously underestimated his new habitat. A hard decision is racing through his head. It is time for him to seek professional help. It looks like someone over here has a pretty high-quality art taste. Gimpl has chosen to ask the local rabbi, Radek, if he has any advices for a newly moved-in matchmaker as a consequence of earlier failures during his line of duty. Yet, Mr. Radek seems not only to completely ignore the matchmaker's problems, but also to refuse to help him in any way. Gimpl isn't angered by the lack of help, but he is angry about the hefty fee. It seems that in this liberal environment, not many of the old habits could survive. Perhaps our matchmaker has finally met his end. This beautiful land of opportunities suddenly feels dark and hostile, and although he's among his kind, he seems so alien. And here, for the first time in his life, he feels alone. Or is he? What is this peculiar place? And how did he get here? Gimpl doesn't seem to remember. And why such a fine woman would provide him with a shelter? But of course, such a fine lady, alone in her room, and eager to bring an unknown man to her apartment? Lonely lady? Possibly even a widow? It must be then. The reason she brought him to her own house is that she wants him to find her husband. Maybe that was the trick all the time. To first find a wife, and then search for a husband. Different communities require different tactics. Now, he just needs to find the right one. His matchmaker sense is tingling. Now that Gimpl has got himself plenty of applicants, it is time to decide which one is most worthy of this fine woman. But each one of them has some kind of flaw. Some are poor, some of them are Jewish, and some are, as it turns out, even married at the moment. It is hard to even find a husband for someone in the new world, but Gimpl got so caught up with matchmaking and connecting other people that he has forgotten about the finest goods on his list: himself. And so it appears our hero has found himself a place in the world. After all, shouldn't every person settle at some point in their life? And so, once again, thank you, my dear spectator, for joining me on this adventure to explore a matchmaker's journey in a new environment. But worry not, we will be here next week with yet another incredible specimen just waiting to be discovered. Who will it be? Well, you will certainly be the first one to find out. Therefore, until next time, I bid you farewell.